Okay, I'm Andrew Maxwell. We're here on Capitol Hill in front of QFC on Broadway and Republican. This is kind of the belly of the beast, the liberal core of Seattle. Our friend Thomas made this van, painted this van with American flag and Democrats for Trump, and we're trying to get interviews with people who are Democrats who have become Trumpocrats or Trumpsters. And we have with us, tell us your name.
My name is Brian Moran, and the previous two elections I voted for Barack Obama, and I happened to be 18 at the time of that first election, so I was just getting involved with politics. Started following a few years before that, and unfortunately, I kind of fell into the trap of believing that he'd bring change, just as many other people kind of fell into the trap of.
Were you raised with a liberal, or was your family kind of indoctrinate you, or were you kind of on your own?
Um, Mom was pretty liberal. Dad was raised Irish Catholic, so he was a little more conservative, but didn't really talk about it too much. Mom had some influence, but I've still been a pretty independent thinker. As soon as I started, I wanted to have an understanding of things, not just you know be told something and then understand why I was told that instead of just believing everything I'm told.
So, what made you more interested in Trump this time?
Well, I wasn't really following the primaries too closely. Like it was just such a circus, and like really, like this is this really what our systems come down to? But really, in the last couple months since the primaries wrapped up, and it's been just Clinton and Trump. Just the more I've kind of dug into it and really kind of looked to see what each candidate was proposing and what they were bringing to the table, and you know, I'll be the first one to say I don't like everything about Trump. I think that there's plenty of things that people can find offensive, and he's human. It's not an excuse. However, I don't think that judging him off of a few out of context lines is really fair to completely discredit him.
So, there's the way I'd make that distinction is there's a style and there's the substance. There's policy. Is there a particular policy of his that you like, or a set of policies?
I'd have to say, if you go back, as far back as like the late 1980s, and you'll see Trump starting to talk about politics. Even as far back then, he's identified kind of the way that we as a country have been kind of getting screwed over. Just trade deals, import taxes, a lot of monetary policies, and that's what he's familiar with. He's a businessman. He's had business success. He's had business failure, and that's all part of the process. And ultimately, there's many problems in this country, but a lot of those problems, the root of it kind of lies in in money, essentially. It's the root of all the evil, and the root of all the things that are issues. So I think
One of the things he says is, "I want to make America rich again."
Yeah.
He says safe and rich and all that. Does that resonate with you? Making America rich again?
make it wealthy. Not only monetarily, but also culturally, and just pride in our country. And if you like going back to, if you ever see some of his old interviews, you can genuinely see that he really loves this country, and he loves the things that he's been able to accomplish because he lives in this country. And that's I think what being an American is. You love the country, you love your other Americans, and I think that is a big part of what appeals to Trump for me.
So you said you didn't really get involved in the primaries. Were you a Bernie supporter at all, or?
No, I like Bernie because he was kind of not part of the establishment and stuff, and he had some good ideas. However, I was also very realistic from the beginning, knowing that he didn't have a chance in hell of actually getting the ticket, just because of, as it's clear now, that the primaries were essentially rigged against him. I liked him, but he didn't have a chance in heck to to get the ballot.
I personally, I wanted it to come down to Bernie and Trump at the end.
Yeah.
That would have been a cool because they're both outsiders.
Yep.
But Bernie, there is some overlap. They both are critical of trade deals. They're both are critical of the wars. But Bernie is definitely a socialist, and I think he doesn't believe in making America rich. I don't know if he knows how.
No, I don't believe so either. I think he's very just kind of bread and butter, and he has his ideals, and I don't think they're in line with what will make our country great. It'll make it maybe okay, but we're America. Like, we're the gold standard for every other country.
We should shoot high.
Yeah, we should shoot high because everyone wants to be Americans. Like, and there's a reason because of that. So.
Have you had any resistance in your social circles or in your family when you decided to embrace Trump?
Definitely with my mother a little bit. Try to open her eyes a little bit with just what's been going on in this election, just as far as the media corruption, the WikiLeaks things. And unfortunately, she just kind of, spewed back the usual CNN propaganda about, sexist, racistness, and so I'm trying to just add little bits here and there without being too pushy, and just try to resonate with not just her but other people I talk to that are kind of confused as to why I'm supporting Trump, because it's when people's emotions get involved is when their judgment gets a little bit cloudy, and that's definitely what has happened with some of the mudslinging that's been thrown at Trump.
Yeah, it's pretty emotional, and on both sides.
Yep.
But the way I see the left in general is sort of emotion-driven in general.
It has, and you see that going back to the 90s and with the first Clinton, and unfortunately just a lot of the mainstream liberal propaganda. Like, I was kind of like when I was voting for Obama and stuff, I'm like these right-wing crackpots, and then the further you look into it, the more you see all these subtle little things kind of thrown at you in movies and primetime television, and it's really kind of scary. It's almost like just a large level kind of brainwashing in a sense.
On the part of the left.
On the part of the left, completely.
So when did you start becoming aware of that?
I was always aware of the corruption, the powers that be. It's been called a lot. It's been called the Illuminati. It's been called
The elite.
The elites. Whatever you want to call it. And I guess I've always been aware of it. Going back to when I first started paying attention to politics and stuff. But it wasn't until the last year or so that I really started to notice the actual the really scary proof that's what these people are doing and how they're doing it. And it's just the way that they talk about it so nonchalantly, this is what they've been doing is just
Standard operating procedure.
Yeah, it's just it's scary, It's just that is what the Democratic Party has just become their standard operating procedure.
Do you live in Seattle?
I do. Yep. Just live kind of by Hillman City, just down Rainier, so just south of downtown a little bit.
And are your friends? Do you talk about politics with your friends?
Yeah, talk about it a lot with my fiance. Talk a lot about with the people I work with, and
Does it ever get heated?
A little bit heated, but I'm a firm believer in when people start yelling, the other people stop listening. So I try to keep a nice even keel and just give my side of why I believe the things that I do, and they can take it and think on it, or they can just get upset and start yelling. So
are there any? So you mentioned we mentioned making America rich again. What are any particular issues? Give me a list of the issues that you are on board with Trump, and maybe the ones that you're not so much on board. Or is it just the style that? Are there policies of his that you don't like?
As far as policies he doesn't like, maybe just some of the more conservative social values that he holds aren't really in line with my own personally. As far as some of the women's rights stuff and Planned Parenthood and stuff, I'm a firm believer in
Pro-choice.
Yeah, pro-choice funding for Planned Parenthood, because they provide so many more services than just abortions.
Well, he did mention in one of the primaries that he's for the funding of Planned Parenthood, just not abortion,
Okay.
and so that is a position that he evolved on. And I frankly have always been pro-choice too.
Yeah.
And I mean, Obama said it once. He said, "Let's keep it safe, legal, and rare."
Yeah,
And to me, it's like it shouldn't be a form of birth control.
Whether it's legal or not, women are going to seek them out. You look at countries where it is illegal and they're still getting them. So at least make it as safe as it can be.
Now, what about foreign policy? Do you have an opinion on how we engage with the world? Because Trump has come up pretty strong about changing our priorities as far as that goes.
I think we need to stop being global police and stop, in a sense, kind of funding the military-industrial complex. Sorry, I forgot my tinfoil hat, but
Well, Eisenhower warned about that in the 50s. I mean, that's been around for a long time.
yes, and we need to have good relations with Russia and China. Those are huge economies. Those are huge military powers as well. You look at Putin. I'm not familiar enough with his policies and what goes on in Russia to really comment on it. However, if you've ever seen Putin spook, he's a leader. He possesses those leadership qualities, and that's respectable in its own right. And I believe that he is a leader. He wants what's best for his country, and Trump is a leader. He wants best for his country.
Do you think Obama's a leader?
No, I think Obama's a puppet with a good smile.
He's controlled by behind-the-scenes forces?
I believe so. He, money is the
Wall Street?
yeah. Okay, how many bankers have been brought charges to during the financial collapse? Like, not a single person from Wall Street has been held accountable, and that was one of his his main campaigning points, that he was going to hold Wall Street accountable, and nothing has happened whatsoever.
Is that when you kind of became disillusioned with him?
Yeah, definitely. Like, he spoke a good game. Like, he's a great speaker. Like, he definitely can connect with people on that emotional level. But it's just words, and he just has not followed through on a lot of his promises.
I remember in 2008 being swept up by his rhetoric and thinking, wow, what a larger than life leader. And now I can't stand watching him talk at all.
No, and I
find him totally unbelievable.
I saw him speaking at some rally, promoting for Hillary, which is also ridiculous. Like, when was the last time the sitting president has been campaigning for their next party candidate?
It's a good question. I don't know if Reagan did for Bush's dad. I know that Clinton didn't for Gore, but because in 2000, because Gore wouldn't allow him to. I thought that was a bad strategic move for Clinton to keep but I don't know whether there's a protocol there or not.
Yeah, so just that in itself just kind of rubs me the wrong way. And then he went up there and started talking about just bashing Donald Trump, and don't throw stones in a glass house. Like, you can't the base of your campaign can't just be an attack on the other individual. And just the way he was talking, just like, come on, guys, it's just like you look like a jester now. So it's hard to take anything that he says seriously.
I noticed when Obama, because he wasn't raised in the black inner city, he was raised in Hawaii, he was raised in Indonesia. He doesn't have the typical black American experience, but you can see he puts on the voice at times and starts talking jive.
He totally.
It's totally an affectation. It's not real at all.
No, he plays the part that he think will connect with people, and unfortunately then the media takes those snippets and make it shine it all up, make it look all pretty, but like at its core, it's still just a bunch of crap.